Hi, I'm Jonna Jacobson, which most of you know. A year ago, many of you joined us at the Regional Arts Commission for our first December in December event, when we were celebrating our revival issue, the first December magazine in 32 years. It's hard for me to believe that today, one day short of the year that's passed since that event, we're gathering again to celebrate the launch of our third issue, volume 25.2. So I want to thank Bruno David for opening his gallery to us and hosting us today. And if you can, please sign in his guest book up front and let him know that you were here too. And I also want to thank the Missouri Arts Commission, who provided a grant to help fund today's event. A lot has happened in 1 year. We've held other release parties, December and January in New York, December and May in Chicago, December and November in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago. We had a book fair stage reading in Seattle in April. And we've distributed almost 2,000 copies of December to readers in all 50 states and in 7 countries. We moved into a real office in the High Point neighborhood, and we launched 3 awards, the Jeff Marks Memorial Poetry Prize, and the Kurt Johnson Prose Awards in Fiction and Creative Nonfiction, honoring the 2 people who created and shaped December's legacy. We've been busy. More than anything else, we've been rebuilding the December community. So here's what I said in my opening remarks last year. December was never a publication where writers would just send in their work and the editors took it or didn't, and once the transaction was made, the relationship was over. December was known for being a real home for writers, where suggestions were made, where give and take was had, where rejections were accompanied by suggestions for improvement, and where accepting a given writer's work might generate a slew of additional submissions from that writer's friends. And so I hope it will be with December's modern era, that it will once again have the comfort and grounding of home for more generations of writers and artists to come. I'm as proud of the strides that we've made toward fulfilling that goal as I am of all the work that we published in the past year. I also said last year that I didn't want to talk too much, because we had such an impressive and dynamic group of readers, and the same holds true today. But as last year, I do want to acknowledge a handful of individuals who've been so critical to our progress that everyone should know who they are. Buzz Spector, December's art editor, is at Art Basel Miami, as he was last year. But you only have to look at our covers and the portfolios of art we've published to know how hard Buzz has been working. With our current issue, the art is on glossy paper and in color, and Buzz is ensuring all the time that December's artistic sensibilities match its literary sensibilities. Diane Cage, is Diane here? Diane Cage, our indispensable design director, is responsible for everything about how December looks, from the layout to the font, the placement of every little thing within and on our pages. On top of that, she runs our website, creates our marketing materials, and puts up with crazy middle-of-the-night emails from me. Our business manager, Judy Kramer, who you all saw enter, began creating some semblance of order and organization for us in August. I was really surprised to discover that keeping everything in stacks and piles around the room is not considered an effective organizational system. Judy is moving December forward through the world of grants and grant writing as well. And after the readings, Judy will be at the table up front for those who want to purchase subscriptions or single issues. And if you haven't met her yet, you should at least stop by the table and say hi. Jennifer Tappenden, who is serving as our poetry editor, has also been a lifesaver. In addition to being a gifted poet in her own right and founder of Architrave Press, not to mention having a day job, Jen has been overseeing all of our poetry submissions. And we are so fortunate to have an amazing panel of submission readers who have spent an inordinate amount of time and energy being first sets of eyes on all of our submissions. A few of our readers live outside the St. Louis area, but most live here, and all of them are talented poets and prose writers themselves. So I'd like to give an enormous public thank you to Angela Mitchell-Phillips, Sarah Ross, Amanda Wynn, Jason McCancy, Jennifer Goldring, Meg Schenkel, Matthew Freeman, Michael D., Ray Holmes, Rita Chapman, Ron Austin, who you'll be hearing today, and Sarah Pitt. I am so grateful to all of you. And in a bit of exciting news, this seems like a good time to announce that Jennifer Goldring will become December's managing editor this spring. Jen is an accomplished poet who will finish her MFA at UMSL in May. She was UMSL's 2013 Poet Laureate. She's currently the managing editor for Natural Bridge, and we're very excited to bring her talents and skills to December. And now it is finally time to turn this over to our readers, all of whom embody the notion of writers as a community. A couple of months after I jumped into the December project, I went to New York and I made plans to have dinner with my friend Gary Belsky. I met Gary in 1985 when we were both fledgling journalists. We became instant friends. He left St. Louis a year later to move to New York, and I was sad, but I hoped we'd remain friends, and we did. Sometimes we were more in touch than others, and the advent of the internet and email certainly helped us along. So when we sat down to dinner and I began to explain what I was working on, first he grilled me with questions, like the good journalist he still is. He gave me 27 variations on how was I going to go about doing this. Once satisfied, he started giving me ideas for writers, for topics, for nonprofit management, for sales strategies. He's covered plenty of it himself as a reporter for Crane's New York Business and Money magazine, then as editor-in-chief of ESPN, the magazine. He's written a few books, including Why Smart People Make Big Money Mistakes, which I'm hoping never mentioned founding a literary journal as one of those mistakes. And now he's a columnist for Time.com and a media consultant. By the end of that dinner, or maybe the next day, he had agreed to be an advisory editor. And sometime around late June of this year, he sent me another email that said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, "This isn't really written, it's just notes from something that just happened, but it's 100% true. If you think it has potential, I'll work on it." No attachment, it was just all right there in the email. That turned into Capshare with an Infidel, Gary's short nonfiction piece that we published in the current issue. So many people have commented to me about this piece that it really has struck a chord. As nonfiction pieces often do, it tells us something about the writer, but it also tells us something about ourselves. It's my pleasure to introduce our advisory editor and my good friend, Gary Belsky.